You know that feeling when someone asks, "How are you?" And you say, "Good, you?" And they say good back, but then you both just stand there and you have absolutely no idea what to say next. Or when you're leaving someone's house and you do that thing where you say goodbye 3 separate times over the course of 15 minutes. Maybe you've waved at someone who wasn't actually waving at you, or called your teacher Mom in front of the entire class. If any of this sounds familiar, you're not alone. Social awkwardness isn't some rare condition. It's something most of us experience, and for some people, it's a constant companion that colors almost every interaction they have. What strikes me most about socially awkward people is how intelligent and self-aware they tend to be. They're not missing something that other people have. They're often acutely aware of social dynamics, sometimes too aware. They notice everything, which becomes part of the problem. When you're in a conversation, there's a natural flow that happens. You listen, you respond, you read the other person's body language, you adjust your tone. For most people, this happens without much conscious thought. It's automatic. But for someone who's socially awkward, every single one of these steps becomes manual. They're hyper-aware of their own voice, their hand placement, whether they're making too much eye contact or not enough. They're running a constant analysis of the interaction while simultaneously trying to participate in it. It feels like everyone else got a handbook on how to be human, and you're just out here improvising. You watch other people laugh at jokes you don't find funny, have casual conversations about nothing in particular, and make plans spontaneously. Meanwhile, you're rehearsing conversations in your head before they happen, and then replaying them afterwards, analyzing everything you said wrong. This hyper-awareness creates a feedback loop. You're anxious about being awkward, so you monitor yourself more closely, which makes you more self-conscious, which makes you more awkward, which makes you more anxious. It's exhausting. Social awkwardness often stems from a mismatch between your internal experience and your external behavior. Inside your head, you might be witty, thoughtful, and genuinely interested in connecting with people. But when you're overwhelmed by anxiety and self-monitoring, that doesn't translate outward. Instead, you might come across as distant, stiff, or uninterested, which is the opposite of what you're feeling. Other people respond to what they see, not what you're experiencing internally. If you're quiet because you're overthinking everything you might say, others might interpret that as you being uninterested or standoffish. Then they pull back, which confirms your fear that you're not good at socializing, which makes you more anxious next time. There's also something called the spotlight effect that makes social awkwardness worse. This is the tendency to believe that others are paying much more attention to us than they actually are. When you make a small mistake in conversation, you might think everyone noticed and is judging you for it. In reality, they probably didn't notice at all, or if they did, they forgot about it 30 seconds later. But you're still thinking about it 3 days later. Someone accidentally calls their co-worker by the wrong name during a meeting. They're convinced everyone thinks they're incompetent. They avoid that co-worker for weeks. But when they finally apologize, the co-worker doesn't even remember it happening. That's the spotlight effect in action. Another aspect of social awkwardness that doesn't get talked about enough is the aftermath. It's not just the interaction itself that's difficult. It's the hours or days you spend afterwards dissecting every moment. You remember that pause that lasted half a second too long, that joke you made that didn't land, the way you laughed at something and worried it sounded fake. This post-interaction analysis, what psychologists call rumination, can be more distressing than the actual interaction was. Rumination serves no real purpose. You're not problem-solving or learning from the experience. You're just torturing yourself with alternate versions of what you could have said or done differently. And the cruel thing about rumination is that it takes a moderately awkward interaction and transforms it in your memory into a complete disaster. Let's talk about where this all comes from, because social awkwardness doesn't appear out of nowhere. For some people, it starts in childhood. Maybe you were the kid who preferred reading to playing with others, Or you moved around a lot and never quite learned the unspoken rules of your peer group. Sometimes it comes from being bullied or excluded, which teaches you that social situations are dangerous and unpredictable. For others, it develops later. Adolescence is a common trigger when social hierarchies become more complex and the stakes feel higher. Or maybe you experienced depression or anxiety that caused you to withdraw, and when you tried to reconnect, you felt like you'd lost your social skills. There's often a temperament component too. If you're naturally more introverted or sensitive, social interactions require more energy and emotional processing. You might need time alone to recharge after socializing, which can make you seem aloof to others who don't understand that need. And if you're a deep thinker who prefers meaningful conversations to small talk, casual social situations can feel pointless and draining. Small talk is the nemesis of many socially awkward people. It feels meaningless and forced. Why are we talking about the weather when we could discuss something that actually matters? But small talk serves a social function. It's a way of establishing rapport and signaling that you're friendly and approachable. It's social lubrication. For people who find it difficult, every casual interaction feels like an obstacle course. Being socially awkward doesn't mean you lack empathy or don't care about people. Often, it's the opposite. You might care so much about making others comfortable and saying the right thing that you freeze up. You're so worried about being liked that you can't relax enough to let your authentic self come through. This is especially true for people who are highly empathetic and pick up on other people's emotions easily. You might notice that someone seems uncomfortable, and then you become uncomfortable wondering if you caused it. You're reading subtle cues that others miss entirely, but instead of making you better at socializing, it makes you more anxious. One pattern you might notice is that socially awkward people do much better in structured situations. Give them a clear role or a specific task, and they're fine. It's the unstructured mingling at parties or the casual hallway conversations that feel impossible. Structure removes ambiguity. You know what's expected of you, but open-ended social situations require improvisation, and that's where the anxiety kicks in. The good news is that social skills can be learned and improved at any age. Your brain is plastic, meaning it can form new neural pathways. With practice and patience, you can become more comfortable in social situations. It won't happen overnight, and it might never feel completely natural, but it can get significantly better. The first step is usually reducing that self-monitoring. This is counterintuitive because your instinct is to pay more attention to what you're doing so you can fix it. But that hyperawareness is actually the problem. Learning to be more present in conversations, focusing on what the other person is saying rather than how you're coming across, can make a huge difference. Another helpful approach is reframing what social success means. If you define success as being charming and witty and having everyone love you, you're setting yourself up for failure. But if you define it as simply showing up, being genuine, and making a small connection, that's much more achievable. Sometimes success is just getting through the interaction without spiraling into anxiety afterwards. Seeking out social situations that align with your interests helps too. If you love books, join a book club. If you're into gaming, find a gaming group. When you're talking about something you're passionate about, conversation flows more easily. You're less in your head because you're engaged with the topic. Social awkwardness can feel isolating, like you're fundamentally different from everyone else. But the truth is, most people have felt socially awkward at some point. They've had conversations that went nowhere, said things they regret, or stood in a room full of people feeling completely alone. You're not as different as you think you are. Your worth as a person isn't determined by how smoothly you navigate small talk or how quickly you come up with witty responses. You have value beyond your social performance. The people who are worth having in your life will appreciate you for who you are, awkwardness and all. Being socially awkward doesn't mean you're broken or that something is wrong with you. It just means you experience social situations differently than some other people do. And that's okay. You don't have to be perfect. You just have to be yourself.